What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here with my official hands-on impressions of the Madden 20 beta. I have a full day in on the beta, about 12 solid hours. Gonna break down the gameplay from my experiences, both good and bad. Keep in mind, this is the beta that's not finished, so there's gonna be changes made. There's gonna be early patches like every year, so how I'm feeling about it right now could change a month after release. It's just, there's a lot that could be changed, but as of right now, I'm going to give you my impressions. The footage in the background is just the same EA footage that's been released. We cannot actually post footage of the beta, so just keep that in mind. Now, to get into it, the biggest and best change by far is the player movement. All the hype has been completely justified. Every single person I've seen that's played the beta has agreed that the movement is phenomenal this year. Madden 19, by comparison, feels like a dumpster fire. They nailed the player movement this year. It is arguably the best player movement we've seen. I'm not going to say ever, because I don't know. I mean, that could be going too far, but it's one of the best player movements we've ever had in Madden. Running the ball so smooth, feels so good. You can hit the hole, you can turn up field. It's so responsive. You don't feel like you're losing control of your guy. And on defense, the click on is so responsive. You click on, lay a hit stick. It's so smooth. Click on and time the interception. So smooth. Like, I haven't had a situation yet where I would click on with a cornerback or a safety and go for a pick and him not animate and grab the pick. Like, in past Maddens, you click on, try to pick, and a lot of times he would just stand there and dumb out, and it would just let the receiver catch the ball. I haven't seen that happen once. When I clicked on and I timed it right, I was able to go up and get the pick. It is super responsive. If you're a guy that enjoys clicking on and doing the work yourself, you're going to love the gameplay this year. Just the movement alone has the gameplay better than past Maddens, because the movement has been kind of crap in Madden for a while, and they finally nailed it, and you're going to notice it the second you touch the sticks. Now, the pass rush is the next big thing. The pass rush is super turned up. I think a lot of you are going to hate it and complain and want it changed, but I would say that you need to try to adapt to it, because once you adapt to it, it's a much better experience. The first game you play is going to be the Pro Bowl, so everybody's going to have, everybody on the D-line is going to be really good, and you're going to probably get sacked 6-7 times, and you're going to hate it. It's like, I can't complete deep passes. Well, you can't complete deep passes as much as you could in past Madden. You can't do that this year. You need to really play realistic now. Deep crossing routes, you're not going to see somebody hit deep crossing routes all game, because you don't have time to do that. And Clint spoke on that. He spoke to coaches, and they said, well, because he was showing them like what we do in Madden, and he was saying, well, like, specifically too, if you play zone defense, which most people do in Madden, if your QB has 5 seconds to throw the ball, there's no defense that's going to stop a deep crossing route, because at some point it's going to hit an open window in a zone defense. So, but in real life, the thing is the average time to get rid of the ball in real life is about 2.5 seconds, like average time in pocket. In Madden, it was like 4 seconds. Now it's kind of closer to 3 seconds in Madden. They've sped that up, and it's such a realistic change. Once I've gotten used to it, I'm still able to throw 300, 400 yards a game, but you have to take your dump downs more often. You have to take your intermediate routes, and then when you do hit a deep route, it feels rewarding. It feels like you earned it, because you can't just throw 15+ yard passes all game long. The way you played Madden 17, 18, 19, you can't play Madden 20 like that. If you try to do that, you're going to fail. You've learned a way to play, but now you have to learn a new way to play, because that way is not going to work anymore. The pass rush is great. I don't think it needs to be changed. Maybe it could be dialed back a slight, but honestly, I'm fine with it, because once you adjust, you just play the game differently. You have to relearn how to play. You can't use the old tactics. But at first, you're going to hate it, because you're going to feel like you can't do anything. But you don't want it to go back to the old man. You don't want to play the same game we've been playing for the last 3 years. Try to adapt to it and embrace the change is what I would say. Now, the QB animations are all good. They're realistic. Like Mahomes, Rodgers, Breeze, these guys, they look like their real self out there, the way they're throwing the ball. It's crazy how accurately they got that nailed down. The trajectory on the ball is so good. Like, you can lead players open now. You have to get rid of the ball sooner this year, because there's more air under it. The trajectories are better. There's less velocity, so the ball comes out slower and it gets there slower, but you can lead. I mean, it just feels so good. You literally can just lead them into the open area and just like drop the ball perfectly in the window. It feels so smooth and realistic. I love the passing game, but that's another big adjustment. The wind up is a lot longer because of that, because you're getting more air under the ball. So you can't throw the ball like you have in past Maddens. You have to actually anticipate the break in the route. You have to throw it like maybe a second earlier than you're used to. But what this goes hand in hand with is the pass rush, because of the windup. The pass rush being fast plus the extra windup of the QB, you're going to get hit a lot more often until you kind of get that balance down, because even if you see a free rusher coming and you're trying to throw like a drag, there's still a little bit of a windup on that throw, and you're going to wind up getting hit as you throw and incomplete the ball. Now, I will say The windup on short passes, I think, does need to be dialed back a little bit. I think there's too much of a windup on like flat routes and drag routes. Like they just cock back a little too much. Now, intermediate and deep passes, I think it's perfect. I think it's realistic, and it just feels so good when you throw them. It feels like you're really throwing those deep routes. Like you're winding up the proper amount to throw them, and I think they nailed that. But the short routes, I think windup needs to be dialed back, especially with how crazy the pass rush is. Now, usering kind of goes hand in hand with this as well, because with the throwing and all that, like, user linebackers are not snatching balls out of the air anymore. So when you see somebody open, you can actually trust your eyes now and not be scared to throw the ball to someone that's open deep, because you don't have to fear a linebacker jumping out of the midair to snatch the ball. But user linebackers in general just feel completely nerfed. Like, you have to be right up on a guy to pick the ball off. Even if you're kind of, 5 yards in front of a guy and it's a line drive ball, it's still, they don't really animate and go for the ball. So, which I don't like, because I think in that situation they should be able to. Now, you can click on at times and swat the ball, kind of get your fingertips on it, which is fine. That's realistic. But intercepting the ball for a linebacker, you literally have to be on top of a wide receiver, which I think it makes sense, because with the pass rush being as good as it is, the linebackers kind of have to be nerfed, because then it just takes away the short passing game, and you need to use the short passing game this year with the pass rush. So it's a good balance. You actually can take advantage of those short routes, whereas last few years, a linebacker is just making ridiculous plays on the ball. Now, if you use a safety, if you put a safety at linebacker, which you can do in certain nickel sets, those guys definitely get better animations. They can get their hands on the ball from a little further away because they're more athletic, but they're a lot weaker versus the run. So I'm fine with that, because the counterbalance is there. If I see you do that, I'm going to run the ball. I think what people are going to do this year, I think a lot of people are going to go more old school and use the deep safeties, because those guys can roam and make better movements, but you can still keep your linebackers in for run support. So I think going old school might be the move this year, and that could be fun. But overall, it's just the usering is definitely more realistic. They made a good change there. Now, the abilities, I will say, I think the abilities are the second best change about the game. People that are worried about the X factor, the zone abilities, they're calling them superpowers. They're saying, oh, this is just a way for EA to cheat people. It's so overblown that it's not even funny. It's hard to get people in the zone, especially the ones where you have to complete multiple deep passes, because the pass rush doesn't allow for that. It's very hard to get people in the zone. If someone gets in the zone, they've earned it. Point blank. They have earned it. So it's not cheating. It's not EA handicapping something. You have to really earn it to get in the zone. And the thing I noticed, which I didn't realize until yesterday, when you get a guy in the zone, it doesn't mean he's going to automatically win. It just gives him a better chance of winning. I had Michael Thomas in the zone a few times where if he's one-on-one, he can aggressive catch you when he's in the zone. And a couple of times after that, the computer defensive back swatted the ball away. I couldn't catch it. So, and then I was out of the zone. But then a couple of times I did make the catch. So it wasn't automatic. It just increases your chances of it. And again, if you click on as a user and time it right, you can swat the ball away too. So you still have control over your own outcome there. So completely overblown. It is not what people think it is. Now, the regular superstar abilities, the ones that are active all game long, those matter because they are active all game long, and those they're realistic. They honestly make the players feel special. I love it because we have not had this in Madden. The edge rushers that have like edge threat ability, like Myles Garrett, DeMarcus Lawrence, all the good edge rushers, JJ Watt, Cam Jordan, they all have this. They're the ones that can get to you in 2.5 seconds because they get off the block quick, just like in real life, and you fear them. Aaron Donald is a monster in this game, but he's a monster in real life. You have to account for pass rushers. This is the first time I've ever played Madden where I was actually scared of the good pass rushers, where if I'm going up against a good pass rusher, I'm like trying to double him, I'm trying to block extra people, I'm trying to get the ball out quick. If I see Von Miller, I know I got 2.5 seconds or it's a wrap. And that's a good feeling because you've never had that in Madden before. Now, even like Eddie Jackson's a good example. He feels like Eddie Jackson. There's so many times yesterday where he was able to break on the ball and get to the sideline and ball hawk, like kind of click. I was able to click on and get an interception, like where the receiver looked like he was open, but because Eddie Jackson's such a good ball hawk and he has certain zone and ball hawk abilities, he's able to break on the ball and just make plays on it that regular safeties simply can't do. Him and Earl Thomas, I think, both have the same abilities. It looks like it's really them out there. They can close on receivers like the regular safeties can't. They feel special. Another one that is huge is like Bobby Wagner, Derwin James, Jamal Adams, I think Luke Kuechly. They all have something called Enforcer where they lay hit sticks on you and you can't break their hit sticks. But like if you're in the vicinity of them, they're gonna hit stick you every time. My God, Bobby Wagner, I was playing a franchise game. Anytime I'd run in his vicinity, anytime I'd catch the ball in his vicinity over the middle, he would lay me out every single time, like just a massive hit. And after a few hits, I fumbled the ball, lost possession. It really got to the point where I was scared to go near Bobby Wagner. I did not want to go near him. Like if I got near him, I would just give myself up and go down because I knew he was going to lay me out. or if I was throwing the ball, I was trying to make sure to throw it away from his area of the field. And Mills, he's a guy that streams. He said the same exact thing about Derwin James on Twitter. He was like, man, Derwin James like lit me up twice, caused a fumble. And he's like, I'm literally scared to go near Derwin James right now because he's just a monster. It makes these players feel special, whereas regular linebackers, they don't feel like that. You can go near those guys. They're going to tackle you. They might hit you, but they don't scare you like those elite guys do. They've nailed this, honestly. The special players feel special. It's not just all about speed anymore, separating players. No, these abilities make these players realistically play like they do in real life, and I love the change, and I think if you play the game, you'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll enjoy it too. Now, the animations in general, not a lot of new animations. There were some new ones, some broken tackle ones, some catches. Overall, not a lot of new animations, but what they did was they cleaned up the animations that they did have, which I like that approach. Fix what you have before adding a lot of new to it, and they definitely did that. There's definitely moments where animations overpower things, don't get me wrong. Definitely moments where you get sucked into an aggressive catch, where you get sucked into a fake out. Those are still there. Definitely still want them to fix that, but I just saw it happening less per game than it did last year. Definitely happened a lot less, and even in the two-man animations, it felt like you had a lot of control over your guy on either side of the ball. But yes, there are going to still be those moments where the animation just overpowers everything. That's definitely still an issue that's there. Ball carrier moves feel good. Jukes and spins still feel good, specifically with the guys that have juking or spinning abilities. They can juke and spin faster, and they feel really good to use. But just the overall jukes and spins, they don't feel as overpowered as last year, but the guys that have the high ratings there definitely still cause you to, miss more tackles than the regular guys. Stiff arm works a lot better this year. That's a lot of fun to use. Now, the QB running behind the line of scrimmage, when you can pull down your icons by hitting left trigger, these guys really dominate if you don't play them right. Like, with Mahomes, when you get outside the pocket with Mahomes, he's just like unstoppable. If you don't have contains or spies out there, you can run with him so easily, break for big yards. You can buy time rolling out in the pocket and actually hit crossing routes. Like, you can hit a crossing route almost every play with Mahomes if you get outside the pocket, because you buy so much time from the pass rush, and he has those good accuracies on the run. But if you put contains on the field, it locks it down. You can't get outside the pocket. You're going to get sacked. So I'm fine with it. You need to know who you're playing against, know what you have to do to account for those special players. When you're playing fast QBs, you're going to want to have contains or even a spy on the field to stop them. If you don't, then you deserve for them to get out the pocket and do damage. But the QB running felt great. Felt like you had a lot of control. Definitely liked it. The defensive play just felt about average. Man defense did feel better for sure, but it also felt better last year, so keep that in. At the beta last year, it felt really good, so take that with a grain of salt. That could still get tuned. Specifically, guys that had a man superstar ability, like Stephon Gilmore has a man ability. He noticeably plays a lot better man, a lot tighter, which I like that. The players that are really good at man should play it better, but overall, it did feel better than what it did last year, like regular game. Zone defense definitely still has AI problems. They definitely still don't jump passes that you would like to see them jump. They don't defend certain routes as good as you would like to see him do it. That definitely still needs an investment, but it doesn't bother me as much because the click on and the responsiveness of the user is so good this year. I'm trying to click on and make the play myself anyway, so even if my DB or my safety or whoever isn't jumping the route or making the play that I want him to make, I can click on and go for the swat, the pick, the hit stick, and it's very, very responsive. So if you're a good user, it's not as much of a pain point for you, but if you're a guy that lets the AI do a lot of the work for you, at least on all pro difficulty, there's still going to be moments where they're playing dumb. Now, all Madden, they play a lot better. All Madden is kind of juiced. I still don't think all Madden is a good experience. I don't feel like EA has got that right yet. All pro with adjusted sliders, at least for offline players, I think is still the ideal way to play. Because on all Madden, you can still move the ball. I don't think the AI is too good, but they're definitely like juiced up. They're definitely a little more psychic. They're definitely more powerful animations on all Madden. It definitely feels like the computer cheats on all Madden still. It doesn't feel realistic, so I still think all pro with sliders is the way to go. Playbooks felt really cool from what I saw. The Cardinals playbook has so much new stuff, new formations, new plays, a lot of air raid stuff, really unique things. The jet sweeps and the play action stuff, fakes off of those, are all really fun to use. Some of them felt a little OP, some of the jet sweeps, but there's tons of them in the game. They're fun to mix into your offense. The RPOs, again, once you learn how to use them, very fun to mix into your offense. Some of the RPOs felt a little overpowered. Some felt a little buggy too, but the ones that felt good felt really good to use. They felt fun. They felt realistic. I think there's probably going to need to be some more tuning with RPOs, but they were fun to mix into your game. Now, another thing that was kind of bad for me is the blocking still feels really bad. Now, that's not to say that you can run the ball pretty easily. I think this is going to be a run year, especially because of how the pass rush and the QBs are. It's people are going to want to favor running the ball this year. But the blocking overall still has a lot of the same issues. Guys not targeting the right players, double teaming the wrong players, just missing, whiffing on blocks. Halfback blocking looked pretty bad. Like, they would just ignore free rushers pretty consistently. Sometimes they pick them up, but a lot of times they were just oblivious to the free rushers. So definitely still blocking issues there. The interception is definitely a lot better, though. There's no more stumbling after the interceptions. The camera change is so much better. Like, when you pick the ball off now, you feel good. Like, you can get going the other way and you can make a big play. Whereas last few years, you felt like you had no control after you picked off the ball. Like, it was completely out of your hands. That is another really good change that they made. And the last thing I want to touch on is the huddle. So when you break the huddle, you got 5 seconds now and you can snap the ball. A lot of people didn't like when they heard this. After you play like half a game, you're really not going to notice it anymore. It's honestly, in my opinion, a great change because you do get back into the action quicker. Because I don't really care who you are. After you break the huddle so many times, you're just spamming the button on your controller to get to the line. You just want to call the play. That's most people that play Madden. So that's out of the game now. You get to the line quicker. There's still a little bit of a walk-up, but you get there quicker. Now, if you want to make more adjustments on offense, you have the time to do that. Thus, the defense has more time to make their adjustments too. But if you're a guy that doesn't want to make a lot of adjustments, the defense is going to be a little bit of a disadvantage. Now, the no huddle, I think, needs to be changed. You're going to hate the no huddle because you can literally snap the ball 3 seconds flat. You no huddle, everybody's lined up, and you only have to wait 3 seconds. Now, again, if the offensive player wants to make those hot routes and motions and do adjustments, well, then the defense is going to have their time to set up. But if you're a guy that just wants to no huddle and run the ball, or no huddle and run like a stock play, the defense is really at a huge disadvantage, and I do think that needs to be tuned. And Clint said that it could be if we want it tuned, and it's not even something they have to do in a patch. They can literally just tune it and put that in the game. I do think no huddle needs to be a little bit longer because no huddle is going to be annoying to play against. It's just a little too ridiculous, honestly, and you're going to hate it, and people are going to annoy you with it. So I do think they'll change that because I don't think anybody's going to like that. But those are my initial impressions right there. If you have any specific questions, ask me below and I'll answer them. I'll also drop an updated video after the beta is over when I have more time with it so I can give you even more detail about how it's playing. But whatever questions you have, drop them below. I'll answer them. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I will see you guys next time.